to effective evolution. And our topic this episode is Solstice 2555 with the MSL, the Mars Science Laboratory, and credits to Mr. Keith Laney. And this particular panorama is quite enticing, simply because there are lots of details to be discerned with the various techniques, and we'll use the dodge and burn tool, the contrast tool, and the exposure tool. And please remember that many of the objects in the panorama are hidden for observation for various reasons. And hence there's obfuscations, consecrations, and you just have to keep the pareidolia enthusiasts at bay and exercise your own subjective ideas. And of course, in this particular butte, there are many intricate patterns to be discovered, and we'll get right to it. Have a nice time. Is Solstice 2555 with the MSL, the Mars Science Laboratory, and credits to Mr. Keith Laney. This area reveals detail in the panorama with the use of some techniques. And we'll get right into that right away. And firstly, there are some very intricate patterns you can discern right away. And for example, this area here, this area here, and many areas, of course, over here, here. And all we have to do is to zoom in a bit. This area here is indicative of some type of pathway or road or whatnot. And not to mention here, over here. And the area of prominence would be all over the place actually, but just to save some time, I've indicated some areas that we're going to look at. In particular here, very interesting objects. And this is after you use the dodge burn tool and some exposure tools as well. Very creative rectangular structures here, i.e. walls, pyramid-shaped structures, protruding objects, tubular structures, pipes or whatnot. A very noticeable object here, and it's at an angle, of course, embedded on the surface. And here you can see some spider-like structures indicative of pipes, tubular conduit structures or whatnot. And over here you have a tower-like structure here and a protruding object that's just being lifted off the surface. Here are some pyramid structures, and over here there are many openings as well in the surface. We'll come back to the red marker in a bit. And here, very interesting, simply because there's some light being shown off the surface here. Is this in fact made of glass or some type of plastic window material? As a matter of fact, this whole area here looks like there's some type of structure there, right? Maybe even over here, indicative of some type of building or craft or structure. And over here you have this tubular, tunnel-like structure. It looks like a giant jack. If you ever played jacks, that's what it looks like. It looks like a giant jack. And and over here, there's an object with a perfectly circular opening there. It's what can that be? Is it a vehicle? Is it a craft? And over here, you can see that there's a dome-shaped structure. Is it an observation tower or whatnot? I just noticed this here too. There's so many prominent structures. If you just look and you can see some detail, they could be parked vehicles or whatnot. As a matter of fact, this whole area, which the red line encircles, could be part of a giant structure too. And of course, we'll have to come up with some ideas. And of course, remember to keep your own subjective ideas in mind. And you're entitled to your speculation, of course. And we'll just get to some particular structures. In particular, this area here. Now, as mentioned, there does seem to be some spider-like pipes coming up over and down over here, which is very peculiar. You don't really see that occur naturally in nature. Also, the slopes and levels over here are very, very ordered. This looks like a type of ramp of some sort or a ramp-like building. There's that object that's being lifted off the ground and some type of tower over here and a pyramid-like structure over here as well. Very interesting, you must admit. And this is that area that we just brought attention to at the intro. And you can see some rectangular architecture here. Very civilized and creative, you must admit. And this structure here, this oval apex-like structure, is pretty interesting too. Not to mention this rectangular structure in the background as well. And there are many other structures too that we can probe. I'm getting right to it. Here's that tubular jack-shaped structure, like a giant jack. Have you ever played jacks with a ball? And that's what it looks like. It looks like one of those jacks right here. And is this a vehicle? Is it machinery? Is it a building? What is it? It's very, very interesting. And just incorporating some other techniques with the exposure technique, you can see that spider-like structure. And over here too, you can see that there are some very intricate patterns Here's that part that looks like a type of road or a pathway or whatnot. And this area here seems to have some type of ordered design as well. Notice the circular structures here, and this seems to have some light shining off of it. This whole area here, is that a giant craft? Or are these buildings over here? You can only imagine, of course. Here's that dome-like structure, very circular. And what are these? Are these parked vehicles? This whole area up here looks to have some intricate patterns and design as well. And with the brightness tool, we use the zoom, and you can see those areas with some more detail. Here is that rectangular structure, two rectangles it seems. It seems to be on the top of some type of level. Here's that protruding object from the structure. You can see symmetrical shape design over here. These are openings of some sort. Seems to be a building over here in the background. There are many, many more, of course. Just take some time and come up with your own thoughts. Here's that object as well. Very interesting to probe. And here are our friends. And here's another area too that seems to be very ordered in terms of architecture and whatnot. As a matter of fact, at the top here, you can see there are some intricate patterns, openings on the surface. Very intriguing. And here's that area as well that we just went over with the exposure tool. And this is just playing around with the contrast and brightness a bit more. You can see the shine off there. It looks like light is being beamed off of the surface, whether it's plastic glass or whatnot. And this would zoom in on the dome-like structure. And you can see that it is quite round. There seems to be light shining off of the top of it as well, which is indicative of some type of glass or plastic-like structure. And you can use your magnifying device, if you like, to come up with your own thoughts. So it makes it such a joy to explore these areas, in particular Solstice 255. And now we're looking at some circular buildings. As mentioned, this is from that area, and here's the light that's shining off of the northern section. And in here, you can see there's some circular objects that seem to have vertical or somewhat vertical openings on the top. Are they observatories, or is this some type of machine mechanism? Can you, i.e., move some type of device in those grooves for probing up at the sky or into space or whatnot? Very peculiar looking objects in the background here as well. Are they buildings? Is this a giant space vehicle? You're welcome to your own ideas, of course. Here is that protruding object that seems to be just curving off of the top, and it seems to have a funnel in the front. Is that a type of pipe or plastic tube? And it's just being generated from the top of this building and whatnot. That's pretty peculiar, you must admit. You can see there are different shades, which would connote ordered architecture, and in the background as well. And here we are with the whole topography, the whole panorama. And over here, these look like buildings or. And remember also that there's a lot of sediment on here. As a matter of fact, it's frozen material, and it's taken billions of years for us to get this view. So you're welcome to your own prognosis. Up here you can see a perfectly rectangular object at the top, and not to mention all the openings in the surface. It's much more detail just for the time that you have to probe the area. But please keep up your exploration. Until next time, and all the best now. In conclusion, then, this area, this panorama, sol2555 with the MSL, the Mars Science Laboratory, is quite exciting simply because of the detail that could be brought out with the aid of the various probing tools and whatnot. And you're welcome to invite your own speculation. And with regards to the detail, the vertical tower, the openings in the surface, the tubes and pipes, and the perfect symmetrical architecture. Of course, you're invited to come up with your own thoughts. And until next time, keep on your probing and your space exploration. Thank you for your time.